The alarm screamed through the lower deck before I even understood what was happening. Sparks fell from a broken conduit above me, and a support beam cracked loose from the ceiling, crashing down just steps away. My tendrils locked with fear. I was the weakest cadet in the entire academy, and now I was alone in a collapsing corridor with no one to help me. Then I heard him, a voice, calm and steady, coming from under a pile of twisted metal near the far wall. It was Nathan, one of the human workers assigned to clean the lower decks. Nobody paid attention to the humans on our station. They swept floors, carried supplies, and stayed quiet. But right now, Nathan was trapped under a fallen support beam, and blood was spreading across the floor beneath his leg. Every instinct told me to run and call an officer. I was ranked last in combat, last in strength, last in everything that mattered at the academy. If I tried to help and failed, it would only prove what everyone already believed about me. But something inside me refused to leave him there. I rushed forward and grabbed the edge of the beam. It was heavier than anything I had ever lifted. My grip slipped once, then twice. Nathan looked at me through the pain and spoke steadily, telling me exactly how to shift my weight to get more force. I listened, adjusted my stance, and pulled with everything I had left. The beam finally moved, and I dragged him free, just as another section of the ceiling gave way behind us. I carried him through the smoke-filled corridor toward the medical bay, my legs shaking with every step. When we reached the doors, I told the medical staff it was my fault the area had collapsed, so Nathan would not get blamed for wandering off from his duties. Then I returned to my room, expecting nothing to come of it. Weak cadets did small things all the time, and nobody ever noticed. 3 days later, everything changed. I was called into the main assessment hall, where hundreds of cadets had gathered for evaluation. I assumed it was another test I would fail. Instead, I saw Nathan standing at the center of the room, dressed differently than before, his posture straight and commanding. The panel of officers who usually intimidated every student in the academy looked uncertain in front of him. He spoke clearly, announcing that he was invoking an ancient protection agreement, one that bonded him to protect the person who had saved his life. The officers argued that a lower-ranked worker had no authority to make such a claim. Nathan answered every objection with precise knowledge of station law, speaking with a confidence that silenced the room. It turned out Nathan was never a simple worker. He was part of a hidden division from Earth, placed on our station, under a disguised identity, to observe activity without drawing attention. Nobody in the academy had known. Now, because I had pulled him from beneath a collapsing beam without checking who he was, I had earned something no cadet at the academy had ever received: a protector bonded to me by law and by choice. The other cadets did not know how to react. For years, they had ignored me, mocked me, treated me like a mistake in the system. Now they watched in silence as Nathan stood beside me, his presence changing the way every officer in the room looked in my direction. I thought that would be the end of the excitement, but I was wrong. The very same night, an emergency signal echoed through the entire station. Warning lights flooded every corridor, and a mechanical voice announced an unauthorized vessel had breached the outer hull. My chest tightened with fear. Attacks on training stations were rare, but not unheard of, and cadets like me had no real way to defend ourselves. Nathan appeared at my door before I could even process what was happening. He told me to stay close and follow his lead. I wanted to argue, to tell him I was useless in situations like this, but there was no time. We moved quickly through the corridors as officers shouted orders and cadets rushed in every direction, unsure whether to fight or hide. We reached a control room where 2 intruders had already disabled the security systems. They wore heavy armor and moved with practiced precision, clearly trained for combat far beyond anything our academy prepared us for. Nathan stepped forward without hesitation. I stayed behind him, my body trembling, but he told me firmly to trust him. What happened next surprised everyone who arrived afterward to see the aftermath. Nathan moved with a speed that seemed impossible for someone who had spent months pretending to be an ordinary worker. He disarmed the first intruder within seconds, using controlled movements that ended the fight without unnecessary harm. The second intruder tried to escape through a side hatch, but Nathan predicted the move and blocked the path before any real damage could be done. I stood frozen, watching a person I once assumed to be another quiet face in the crowd handle a serious threat with total control. When the officers finally arrived, they found the situation already resolved, and Nathan calmly reporting details they hadn't even asked for yet. After the chaos settled, whispers spread through the academy, faster than any official announcement could. Everyone wanted to know who Nathan really was, and how the weakest cadet on the station had somehow gained a protector capable of ending a security breach almost single-handedly. I did not have an answer that satisfied their curiosity. All I knew was that a single moment of kindness, one where I refused to leave someone injured and alone, had changed the direction of my entire life. Word of the failed attack spread beyond our station, reaching higher authorities who wanted to understand exactly why an armed group would target a training academy in the first place. Officials arrived within a day, moving through the halls with a seriousness that made even senior instructors nervous. Nathan was called in for questioning, and this time, I was asked to join him. Inside the briefing room, the officials revealed something that shocked everyone present. The intruders were not simple criminals or scattered raiders. They were part of an organized group attempting to locate hidden observers from Earth, stationed across multiple worlds. Nathan's identity had been at risk of exposure, and the attack on our station was a direct attempt to capture or eliminate him before his mission could continue. If I had never pulled him from beneath that beam, Nathan would have been alone and injured when the intruders arrived. The consequences of that outcome could have reached far beyond our small training station. The officials made it clear that my simple act of kindness had unintentionally protected far more than one person's life. After the meeting ended, Nathan walked beside me through the quiet corridor, and for the first time since everything began, I asked him the question that had been sitting in my mind since the very beginning. I wanted to know why someone with his skill and hidden authority would choose to bond himself to someone as weak and overlooked as me. He answered without hesitation, saying that strength was not only measured through combat ability or academy rankings. He explained that most people calculate risk before deciding whether someone is worth helping. I had not done that. I had acted the moment I saw him in danger, without checking his identity or considering what it might cost me. That single choice, made without any expectation of reward, meant more to him than any rank or title ever could. In the following weeks, everything around me shifted. Officers who once dismissed me without a second thought began treating me with quiet respect. Cadets who had ignored me for years suddenly wanted to understand how someone like me had earned such a powerful ally. I did not gain sudden strength or skill through any of this. I was still ranked low on every academy chart, still struggling through daily training exercises. But something deeper had changed. I no longer walked through the corridors feeling invisible. I no longer doubted whether kindness mattered in a place built entirely around strength and competition. Nathan remained close, not because rules forced him to, but because he chose to. Every time I doubted myself during training, his steady presence reminded me that value was not always measured through power alone. The station eventually returned to its normal routine, though nothing about my life stayed the same. Instructors adjusted their expectations of me, not because my skills had suddenly improved, but because they finally understood I was capable of decisions that mattered more than physical ability. Some cadets tried to befriend me for the first time, hoping to gain favor through my connection with Nathan. Others kept their distance, unsure how to process the sudden shift in status surrounding someone they had mocked for so long. I did not care about their opinions anymore. I had learned something far more valuable than academy rankings could ever teach. A single act of kindness, given without hesitation or calculation, had reshaped my entire future. It had brought me a protector stronger than anyone at the academy had ever seen, and more importantly, it had shown me that even the weakest person in the room could carry the power to change everything around them. As I walked through the corridors that evening, watching cadets who once ignored me now glance in my direction with quiet curiosity, I realized something simple but powerful. Strength is not always found in muscles or rankings. Sometimes, it is found in the courage to help someone else when there is nothing to gain and everything to lose. And sometimes, that single choice is enough to change your entire life forever.